everybody. Happy Tuesday. I hope your day is going pretty well, and I also hope that y'all had a pretty good weekend. I know it's a couple days late, but it still counts. My weekend was pretty good. I can't complain. The reason why I wanted to make this video is to talk about patience. And the reason why I feel like it's important to talk about patience is if you're success-minded or oriented, or if you have things that you're working on or working towards, etc., if you're just trying to get stuff done or stuff accomplished in your life, then you probably understand very, very well that, you know, you're not going to always get instant gratification for the work that you put in. And, you know, I think it's important to understand that really just to get a better perspective of the waiting game, as I like to call it, or just the period of time that from the moment you determine that you want something until you get it. And I want to start out by pointing out that we are very much like children. I think adults, as adults, we hit a certain level of maturity, and in a lot of cases we stay there for sometimes the rest of our lives. And if there's any, I have a pretty extensive background in early childhood development, and I have a 2-year-old son. He'll be 3 pretty soon. So I spent my pretty much the first 2 years at home with my son, and I think if there's anybody who's going to be well coursed in early childhood behavior, then I'm a candidate. So the way that I've really figured out that, you know, we hit a certain point, some of us hit a certain point of maturity, is just observing my son, taking care of him day in and day out, and noticing the mannerisms he had, especially when it came to me telling him either no or wait. And sometimes I feel like when I say wait, his response is far worse than if I say no. And what's funny, I would find myself getting frustrated with his little temper tantrums, and it was like, you know, listen, he is 2 years old. This is 2-year-old behavior. He is right in his lane. He's perfectly in his lane as far as his level of responsibility on this planet, or at least in my household as a 2-year-old. You know, temper tantrums come with the territory, and if I handled it like him, I'm not showing him, I'm not demonstrating to him how to deal with people who are doing things that you don't like. You know, if I react in a certain any way that I respond to a temper tantrum or outbursts is me saying, hey son, when you get older, this is how you're supposed to behave towards people who piss you off, frankly, or who upset you, or who disagree with you, or etc. And I found myself questioning, okay, well, how am I supposed to handle this situation? You know, and then I thought about my response, my actual response as an adult whenever I have to wait for something. And outside of, I find myself throwing adult temper tantrums, grown up temper tantrums, and you see it all the time. Those are the people who are screaming at each other, and those are the people who resort to violence over something as simple as, you know, I've seen news. Y'all watch the news. I don't even want to address some of the silly situations that I've seen on the news between 2 adults and why they ended up fighting, why they were being arrested. And you know these people, I know these people. And think about how you handle yourself. Even if you think your response may be mature, sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just the grown-up version of that tantrum you would have had when your mom said you couldn't have any more candy. I don't want to pull up any examples because I don't want to tell on myself, but hopefully y'all understand what I'm talking about. Next time you find yourself in a waiting game or in the waiting game, ask yourself if you're handling that situation, especially once you hit the point of frustration. Are you handling that situation in the way that you tell your kids, or you expect other people's kids to handle the situation when they're told no or wait? Especially wait. I hate waiting. I really do. And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. I like results. You know, I grew up in the microwave age. You know, we don't have to sit leftovers in the oven or back on the stove. You make your plate and you put it in the microwave, and a minute or so later, it's hot. And it's easy to get accustomed to that and try to spread it, or have that expectation spread across all of your life, because, you know, in the long run, you're being told either no or wait for a reason. There's always a reason. And I think looking at yourself from the perspective of maybe your parents, or, you know, someone who respects you, would they deem your responses as temper tantrums? It's interesting. It's really interesting what you can learn from children and just watching them. A lot of our behaviors are learned and really just adapted, not developed or dropped. And it's just funny.